So this is the start of Old Road, heading from the more northern side, northwesterly edge, I think. I'll double check that. I'll put it in the details. I'll adjust that camera as well when we get to the start of the lane. I always just start filming from here though, because there is a challenge when you're looking at this on the map. It's easily deceptive and you can end up on a footpath. So I thought I would start filming a little bit early so you can not make the same mistake I've seen others do. I think there's some people that drive this section purposefully. You can see it in front of us. I have seen people drive it cleanly, but it's not a legal byway. I wouldn't recommend it. So just up there to the left, that's not the entrance. At least one of them said thanks. In fact, whilst we parked here, I'll just quickly adjust this camera. Start off with quite a steep climb there. If you weren't ready for that, I can see why it might catch some people out. And it goes straight into this this cheeky climb. It's a good section of lane, this. Just trundle steadily, plenty of traction. And you probably hear my shopping rattling around in the back. I've just come from Tesco. This is just a slightly detoured route home. So I've not aired down or anything. Ideally you'd want to reduce your PSI for this because it is a little bit rocky, but it seems to be alright. Trees look like they've gone over in the weather there. I think the last big storm we had was Arwen a couple of weeks ago, so maybe it was, actually that was just before, that was more than a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months now. Maybe it was that. Maybe it was just them being old. Glare on that camera, which I just tried to sort, but not much I can do about that, I'm afraid. Trundle on. I do always slow down for puddles just to assess what's going on, because seen a couple of unfortunate accidents happen with even modest puddles. It was like in Wales once with a friend and a couple of friends in convoy. And He was in a Defender 90, and he went into a puddle like that, not much bigger than that, a little bit deeper, but couldn't see what was underneath, and went into what I can assume was a bit of a step or a curb of some sort, and broke his panhard rod, and his steering went all wobbly on the road a short while after, and that was him on a flatbed all the way back home from Wales, so it sort of ruined his trip, or at least impacted his trip. And it was a very modest puddle, so, and a very capable truck, so I always err on the side of caution now. A couple of nice cambered sections here. Ooh, that's quite a camber. I think if you're on road tyres you'd probably struggle on this, especially as the weather's been so wet recently, but I'm just sort of idling through here. And trucking nicely. Lovely scenery out to the left. On a clearer day. Few curious sheep there. Oh, what's going on? Nothing's going on, folks. Look at the tracks here, it does look like there's tractor tracks alongside some footprints and some smaller vehicles. So I think this lane gets pretty heavily used. Use it a bit more heavily myself as a slightly less direct route between Whaley Bridge and Buxton, because it's much more fun than the A road. These drives, I quite often think about what I'm going to do next to my Freelander, to Old Boy, as I call him. For those that don't know, that's his name, Old Boy. The name, if you're curious, comes from when I first got him, and he was having starting issues, and there's nothing wrong beyond a little bit of neglect from the previous owner, like they've not stuck to the service schedule, and fuel pump needed changing basically, and he was having trouble starting, and I think I just said something along the lines of, oh, he's a grumpy old boy today, you know, like when he won't start, and I had all his issues fixed since then, but the name stuck. Just sort of since called him Grumpy Old Boy. Yeah, Old Boy. So I often think on drives like this as to what I'm going to do next. And I'm looking forward to part of the renovations, or the rolling resto will be sorting the garage out so that I can get him in, and I need to raise the roof on my garage so I can get him up on some ramps and do a little bit of welding on the sills. They're not bad, there's literally just a couple of spots, but I want to deal with them whilst I can, whilst they are just a spot. once that's done, I'm going to give him a coat of Raptor. His paintwork's been scratched and abused for a couple of years, and I did have a vinyl camouflage pattern on him for a while. I really enjoyed that and really gave him some identity, but I fancy just sticking with Oslo Blue, which is the colour he was at the factory, but going with a matte version, matte Raptor. I don't know if that'll technically be Oslo Blue at that point, but that sort of shade, that deep navy blue. A bit of a descent here, let's see what's going on. Don't know if the camera's picking that up, it's quite steep. I don't know if the microphone's picking up the hill descent, doing the cadence braking. For those that aren't aware, the Freelander has hill descent control. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact specs, but I think it basically holds pace at about 4 miles an hour, something like that, give or take. And it uses a combination of ABS and I think traction control as well, I'm not sure, someone will correct me on that, to hold the pace. And super useful for descents like this, because it's just foot off the brakes, foot off the accelerator, hand off the gears, and just idle down. Super useful, really nice and controlled, super safe. Excuse me. I always check the map here and always go, it's right, but for this time I'm actually just going to go right. After doing this lane 3 or 4 times, I finally got the confidence to know where I'm going. Small section of tarmac here, and then we join a nice long straight section of, I think it's called Buxton Old Road or Buxton Coach Road or something like that. I'll double check and put that in the description. Thank you, climbers, walkers. Nice to get a polite nod and a wave. There's room for everybody, and I do find that it's just a minority of pedestrians that don't support. So let's get this gate. But I never assume someone else is going to close the gate unless they're explicitly like holding it open for you. If they're 20 yards away, 50 yards away, I'll just do it myself. Just to be sure. Right, a bit of a step here, nice sort of technical climb section, let's see. That wasn't too bad, looked worse than it was. I always find that when you're on camera, especially dash cam, never quite does the angle justice or anything like that. always makes everything look flat and easy. Which compared to some lanes, this is fairly flat and fairly easy, but the camera makes it look even more so. I think it's just a matter of degrees, isn't it? Because when I first started laning, this would probably have terrified me. So you don't know what your vehicle's capable of, you don't know what you're capable of, you don't know what's next around the next corner. And even a very simple lane can seem challenging. And as you build up your confidence and your experience and both yourself and your vehicle, and you get some spares and the knowledge and ability to use them, like change the track on the side of or change a tyre on the side of a track, and all those sorts of things, you gradually build up enough experience to enjoy it. Ooh. Oh, I hit my rim there. Lucky I'm on steels. I have cracked a rim doing something. I wouldn't say it's more severe. Yeah, it probably was. It was. I mean, it was a similar gradient, but there was a couple of pretty aggressive steps, and I went into one of them a little bit more aggressive than perhaps I should have done. This was again in Wales, and I cracked an alloy. That was one of the Freelander standard alloys on MTs, into turbos, traction tracks, the MTs. Very good tyre off-road, absolutely awful on-road. The road manners are just terrible, but that's another story. So I slightly aggressively took this step and just heard the loudest, and I knew what had happened straight away. A big hiss, tyre popped, driver's side front, and reversed down, and rest his soul, there's a chap called Pete who I was with. He's passed on now, sadly, only recently. And he says, Chris, he's always full of bright ideas, super smart. He says, Chris, why don't you reverse just up that bank, save you using the jack. So he guided me in and reversed up this bank, so the tyre was up in the air, but I was on 3 wheels. Changed the tyre, put the spare on, and I vowed never to use alloys off-road again. I'm sure there are good alloys, let's face it, but and some of them are expensive, and that's exactly what they're designed for, and they've got good on and off-road manners, and etc, etc. But I just fell out of love with them, lost confidence. Such is life, right? Pop that piece of drywall back, although it wasn't lying in the same direction as the others, so I've got a suspicion I'm not the first one to do that, probably the farmer. It's a bit cold today, moderately runny nose, about 3 degrees. Got heating on full blast, so let's get it on. Yeah, quite a nice long lane this. What are we up to? 20 odd minutes. It's a decent trundle. I think you could put, I'm just going to drop into second. This is fairly flat. You could probably smash this if if you literally went to the maximum of the speed limit and you're a little bit more blasé. You'd probably smash this pretty quickly, but like I say, I always like to take it safe, especially when I'm on my own. You'll hear me say that 100 times. If you're on your own, don't be daft. If it's on a nice straight lane, yeah, of course I might pick up the speed a little bit, but you've also got to be considerate of blind corners and pedestrians and cattle and all that sort of stuff, and just generally annoying the locals. I don't want to do it. And again, I am local now. You know what I mean? Which way that gate went then. Actually, it hinges both ways, but no way to keep it open there. In fact, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Cool, thought so, but always best to double check. And we're heading left. This section's tarmac. It's lovely. It's not the most amount of passing places if you do come across anyone else, but it's clear, lovely rolling, sort of bouncing bit of tarmac. Some people look at tarmac lanes on the map and go, oh, it's not worth driving that. You know, they'd much rather be mud plugging at pay and play or something nice and technical. I love them all. When it's clear weather, the view across here is absolutely gorgeous. Maybe I'll film that another time. Just slow down for that blind corner. But yeah, I love the idea of exploring not just untarmacked but blacktop as well. I mean, look at that, it's proper moody. There's another nice little section of off-road coming up after this. I'll put the coordinates. I think this is actually technically 2 or 3 different lanes, but they all sort of connect. I'll put the details and the Trailwise IDs into the description below for anyone who wants to check them out. I'd encourage you, if you're not already a member, to join GLASS, the Green Lane Association. So you get access to Trailwise, which is a fantastic mapping tool. Rather, I don't think it's technically a mapping tool, it's just a resource that has all the lanes listed on and an opportunity to leave notes, check stuff like gradients, because it has a bit like an OS style map, gradients and stuff on it. Going left here, I don't want to end up down someone's driveway. I don't know if you heard, but I indicated. You even indicate off-road. Just before I lose my train of thought completely, yeah, joining GLASS does have its perks. not only do you get access to Trailwise too, but you've also got a good community who attempts to be helpful. Obviously there's people of all levels of experience or technical climate, I forgot about this. People try and be helpful to the best of their ability. Yeah, it's a good community overall. It's a good community. And your membership money is not very expensive. I think it's about £50 a year, give or take. It's nice to know that goes towards maintaining lanes and signage and a legal fighting fund. I don't like the phrase fighting fund because I think it can come off quite aggressive for antis, for people who are anti four-wheel drive. Oh, they've got a fighting fund. It's not. All it does is, for those that aren't aware, it goes towards the legal costs of protecting the rights of lanes that are in dispute, or lanes that have had restriction orders put on them, that sort of thing. So it's a very worthwhile £50 a year spent. I think somewhere around that anyway, can't remember. It's not important, it could be twice that, it'd still be worth it in my eyes. I think in future it'd be lovely to see Trailwise 2, the ability to drop GPXs into it and use it like a mapping tool, a bit like you can do with Google Maps, and then, you know, drop GPXs into it and then hit go like you would do on a sat-nav. But that sort of development costs money, and I'm sure it would happen if they had 10,000 new members join overnight. They had a big influx of cash. But until that time, they're doing what they can. Just make way for these cyclists to, motorbikes. Nice of them to slow down. Good lads, they look quite young there. It's hard to tell behind the helmets, but they don't look like old boys. Nice to see Mike joining the lane and being responsible, sticking to the speed limit and being polite. We've got foggy all of a sudden, eh? I just natter on like this all day. I figured some of these lanes I was going to do, you know, just sort of in silence, so you could just hear the engine revving and just sort of trundle along. And I don't know what made me change my mind, but I think I just thought I'd essentially share what I'd be thinking in my head anyway. What I'm saying is basically just what I'm thinking. Just connecting the dots. I can't remember what this climb does, so I'm just going to drop into first and just see if I can just hold 1500 revs, and should be prepared then for anything. This tarmac's strange because it sort of breaks up in sections and then disappears and then comes back, and a bit of sign of off-piste there on the right. So those aren't aware, off-piste when people who are quite unscrupulous actually deviate off the track. That's not encouraged by 99.9% of the four-wheel drive community. It's a very small minority that do that, and it's quite often what ends up mid-lane shutting. Sometimes it's tolerated by the local area and they're not fussed, but sometimes a farmer that can take umbrage to perhaps is land being used like that, or a local council or rights of way officer or something of that ilk. Can be anyone. Doesn't take much. Sometimes deviating off the path ever so slightly is needed if there's an obstruction, or you need space to pass other vehicles, but for the most part it's not needed or recommended. A little bit slippy there. Ooh, even on 80s. That sort of mud that feels a little bit like clay. Yeah, my shopping rattling around in the back. Good lane this. Slippy. Yeah, there's generally good traction on this lane. For 99% of it, there's just one or two sections where it's just a little bit of mud that makes it more challenging. Alright, slow down. It's a deceptively steep bit. I wonder who is responsible for maintaining these lanes. Sometimes they're done very well, and you know they're filled with gravel, or you know bigger potholes are filled in, and etc. That one looked like it just had a skip full of bricks dumped on it, which, to be fair, would slow down the erosion of the lane, slow down rutting and all that sort of stuff. But I can't imagine it's that nice for horses or pedestrians, or indeed four-wheel drivers. I don't mind, but nice to have that balance. Some technical sections, some nice smooth sections. Poor dog, getting dragged away by his collar. Leave the camera running until we get to the end of this tarmac section, just because it's lovely and atmospheric. As we just get to the A road there. Cheers, folks. And like I say, I'll get this up on YouTube and put the details up in the comments. And I'd value your comments. If you've done this lane, let me know below. I value your shares, value your subscriptions, and yeah, appreciate you watching. Cheers, folks.